The classic YouTube stats that we've all gotten to know and love are going away, and they're being replaced by new analytics. So I invited Tom from the Creator Insider's YouTube channel, who actually works on the new analytics. I've invited him onto the channel so that he can share with you how this is going to impact creators in general, how this impacts mobile content creators, and the things that you need to make sure that you're paying attention to in your stats, and more. Tom shares a lot of really good information in here, so you want to make sure that you don't miss any of it. And we're starting right now. Tom, welcome to the channel. It's awesome to have you on here today sharing the information that you have with us about YouTube beta. Welcome to the channel.
Thank you so much, Nick. I really appreciate you having me on the show.
I have a nice list of questions prepared for you. Some of those questions come from me. I also have some questions that came from the community as well. I made a community post asking for some questions that they have about this as well. The very first question on the list is, why did YouTube decide to make this change in the first place? Why did they decide to redesign everything when it worked as it should have without any adjustments needed?
The main reason is that Classic is about a 10-year-old product.
Okay.
So for those who are used to using software, like think of, your laptop on a 10-year-old operating system, it's becoming like pretty brittle. And what we do oftentimes is we try and do long-term kind of technology planning. And we ask ourselves, like, okay, is this a product that we can support and grow and innovate on for the next several years? And the answer for Classic was that we probably couldn't, because it was becoming so brittle that we were concerned about maintaining reliability. And then also other teams within YouTube that wanted to add new features were having a lot of difficulty. It would take like several months to add a checkbox. And
much more complicated than it needed to be.
Yeah. And there were all these like kind of interdependencies, and, multiple generations of engineers had worked on it. And some of the tech that they had built it on was relevant back in the day, maybe in, 2008, 2009, but not so much now. And so, so we decided to, it was a very big decision to rebuild the whole thing, because it's not easy to replace a product that had 10 years of development on it. And so we did that. We started that project a few years ago. And we've been slowly building it up, and it started out as a optional beta and, very early stages. And then we kind of got feedback and made some improvements, brought some more features over. Then we made it the default, where we brought everybody there, but people could change the default settings. And then we said, okay, no more, you can't change the default settings. Everybody has to start there. But then there was still this escape hatch. And now we're getting to a point where we're getting ready to remove the escape hatch, so that, the studio beta or the new studio will be the primary place. And that will allow us to make improvements even faster and focus all of our resources on the one platform, and then, responsibly deprecate the legacy platform.
Basically, what you're saying is, when you take away the Classic, or when you cut the access to Classic, you're going to be able to make beta even cooler than it already is, right?
Yes, for sure. Like, don't think of us removing general access to Classic as us saying like, oh, mission accomplished. It's more like, okay, now let's start the new phase where Studio Beta, or Studio, probably by that time, when we just take off the beta label, is the primary thing. And then we know that we don't have to have engineers keeping Classic alive and fixing all the bugs that it's piling up on Classic. And that allows us to innovate faster, add new features faster, and hopefully provide a better experience for creators. Because, our job is to help creators be successful and to build tools that, make their lives a little easier. So our incentives are aligned, but I do appreciate that for some creators, it is a tough transition, because it is a different UI, it's a different information architecture. But I can tell you that for those who've made the leap after a week or two, if you use it frequently, you don't think about Classic that much anymore, maybe just one or two things. And those one or two things is usually like end screen editor, audio library, mid-roll ads. And these are things that will be coming over and will be offered natively in the new studio. And then in the meantime, even though you may not have access to Classic in general, there are parts where we deep link from Studio Beta into Classic, like the old end screen editor, and that will remain until we feel like we've got a great alternative. And that's what happened with the open beta, where we had this, and we still do, this big video editor that a lot of people love, but it's kind of like binary. So a lot of people love it, and then a lot of people are like, whoa, it's too complicated. There's way too much stuff here. So we took that feedback to heart and said, we can't in good conscience take away the end screen editor, the legacy one, because it was pretty simple. And it sounds like, rather than only having this comprehensive editor, we should have this task-focused editor. So that's in development now. And that's one thing just to keep in mind, that Classic will go away in phases. The next phase will be general access. And then after that, it'll be those deep linked kind of encapsulated, handful of features.
Okay.
And we won't do it until, we feel comfortable that creators can get their job done.
Yeah, and I think that that's important also. Like, I know for me, like when that first became available on my end, it was intimidating, right? Because, I love digging into that stuff. It's part of what I do. But even loving that, you have this whole new interface, and it is overwhelming. And with YouTube, there's so much to learn anyway. And then, when you have, the Classic that you're used to, and then you get the beta thrown at you, so to speak, to where, you start to feel like, hey, this is getting taken away. I understand the stress that comes with that. However, once you do get in there, and once you do dig in and you start using beta, it's actually a much superior product in terms of just all of the information that you have access to. And I can't even imagine, once you can allocate the resources to it, what you're going to be able to actually turn it into, in addition to what it already is. So the next question that I want to ask you, Tom, is actually a community question. And that question comes from Mason Newton. Mason asks, what's the big picture idea of how Studio Beta will benefit current and future content creators?
I think the big picture idea is that we wanted a platform that allowed us to significantly expand the capabilities that creators have over the next several years in terms of succeeding on YouTube. So, for example, like merchandise, memberships, super chat, live streaming, all of these things were introduced in the last few years. And many of them were actually built only in the Studio Beta because the teams were like, we do not like working on Classic, and it's just too hard to maintain it there. And so the big picture is that we want to build the everything creator place for you, so that you have access to everything. It's all integrated and it's cohesive. And it's the one place you go if you want to see if there's anything that requires your attention, if you want to reply to some comments, if you want to plan your next upload. And it's kind of built with a creator in mind. When we built Classic, it was more like every team at YouTube just dumped their stuff in there. And that had some advantages for the teams to kind of add stuff more quickly. But it became, I know old school YouTubers who've been in Classic forever feel like it's really easy. But actually, when you take a brand new creator and you do the taste test with them, they actually find the Studio Beta way easier than Classic. And so that's what we're trying to do. The big picture is bring it all together, have it scalable so that we can continue innovating and adding new features faster, have it reliable, and then also build features that help you become more successful and help you grow faster. And that's the big idea. At the end of the day, we don't succeed if creators don't succeed.
And I love that. And I love the initiative that YouTube is taking on that in terms of just trying to help creators. Like I think that inside of beta currently, how you have the icons next to everything explaining exactly what it means, how you have, like in the audience retention reports, how you can go to the little icon and it shows you, hey, if you see this, it means this. I think that's a fantastic addition to what it is that you're doing, because that type of information is stuff that if you're not used to looking at information like that, then it can be really overwhelming and leave holes in the information that you have. So I think that initiative that you guys have in terms of educating people as they're going through the process of learning what all the different features are inside is absolutely fantastic. So high five on that one.
Thank you, Nick. Yeah, and we're even trying to take that to a whole new level where for the YouTube analytics team, where in addition to charts with explanations, we also just try and summarize it in sentences and just say, hey, it looks like the last upload's doing really well. It's because subscribers are clicking on it more often and watching for longer. Like, why make you look at the click-through rate compared to your old click-through rates, look at your duration, then go another report, look at your duration. Like, we know why it's performing well. And when we do, we should just tell you as if we're talking to you. Of course, for some people that want to slice and dice and dig in, that will always be supported. But what we heard is a lot of creators, you know, their dream is not to spend hours in studio. Their dream is to create good stuff, know what's going on. And, you know, in some ways, sometimes they say, I want to spend as little time as I need to, but I want to get my work done and I want to know what I need to know. So that's part of the theme. And the other one is like, example of that is on the Studio Beta dashboard. We have like a known issues card. So if there's like an outage or something that affects you, creators are telling us like, I don't even know where to go. I go on Twitter or some forum. I'm bouncing all over the place. So that's becoming like a very reliable one-stop shop to get important information. And a related card on the Studio Beta dashboard that is launching very soon, you know, a matter of weeks, I think, is an important notifications card where if a video has an issue, like maybe a copyright issue or something that requires your attention, it'll sort of have like a little red outline and it'll have a link that you can take action right away, because sometimes creators are telling us, hey, if something happens to my video, I don't even know, or I find out when it's too late. So these are all examples of us trying to make a creator's life a little easier. But you know, we still have work to do. And there's also some blocking and tackling that we're also working on. That's not as sexy, but like making it easy to do common tasks with fewer clicks. That's the feedback that we've been getting, which is like, okay, now I figured out how it works, but there are some common patterns of behavior that it takes me more clicks than I'd like. And so that's kind of another big initiative, right, that we're working on now, that we're excited to kind of implement further once we can consolidate all the team on one platform.
Nice. And that actually leads us into the next question, which is based on the feedback that you've received, you know, because I'm sure you guys have tons of data in terms of how people are using it and things they're not using and things they should be using that they're not using. Are there features that you have found that people are overlooking but they should be using? So I know one thing as an example, like the grouping feature is one thing that is on my list. Anytime that I mention the grouping feature, people are like, wow, I didn't even know that was available. Is there things like that you're finding inside that creators really need to pay attention to, but they're kind of overlooking or they're not using as much as they should?
On the dashboard, we have the snapshot card. If you had an upload, it will generally give you the recent performance of that upload. But the really cool thing is it gives you a ranking of how the video did relative to your last 10 uploads. And then it will, if you hover over it, now this is what some people tell us, oh, I didn't even know that was there. There's like this little caret that then allows you to expand and see this leaderboard. And what's cool about that is it's comparing your previous 10 videos normalized for the same number of minutes since the last video was available. So if you uploaded something 4 hours ago, it's not really fair to compare the views of that video versus a video you uploaded 3 weeks ago.
Sure.
Because that one would have accumulated more. So we say, okay, well, let's just compare every of the last 10 videos, all of them at minute 4 hours and 7 minutes, you know? So that's really cool. And surprisingly, even though it's on the dashboard, a lot of people don't realize, oh, I didn't know you do like a normalized comparison. And again, this is where we take that feedback and, you know, obviously like we probably should work on a better tooltip to explain it. Hopefully Nick, channels like yours can help us educate people.
Sure.
Yeah. That's one thing. The second thing I'll call out is more of a blocking and tackling thing, which is like, oh, I found the new Studio Beta editor. One of the powerful things is it has all these rows, so you can do multiple edits simultaneously. Like you can mess with the audio, but then also mess with info cards and, you know, end screens and, you know, blur things and all these stuff. But a lot of people say like, oh, I don't want to do all of that. Well, if you go to the video details page on the right-hand side, there's a little link that says end screen editor or end screens. And that will actually take you to the classic old school end screen editor. It's very simple that everybody knows. And so that's one of those things.
The comfortable version.
Yeah. And until we built the comfortable version natively in Studio Beta in the studio, then we'll make that classic one still available. And then the third thing I would call out is in the official YouTube analytics section. Now on many of the charts, we have the line charts, but we have this like little gray shaded bar. And the gray shaded area next to the line chart represents your typical channel performance around this metric. So if it's like you're looking at views for a video, we'll show what your pattern of view growth looks like across your other videos. And if the blue line is way above that gray shaded area, you're outperforming. Usually it's inside of the gray area. Sometimes it'll be under, but it just gives you a better sense, because sometimes creators say like, I see all these numbers, like, is this good or bad? Like, I don't know. So those would be three things. There's also a ton of other exclusive metrics like click-through rate, impressions, unique viewers that are only available in Studio Beta. But those three things I would call out are the snapshot card, the safety blanket, the easy way to get to the old end screen editor, and then the gray kind of like typical performance chart. And then maybe I'll call out one more thing.
Okay.
Which is biggest problem people have if they've been resisting Studio Beta, and then they go the first time and they're like, I can't find anything. Always select the video you want to manipulate first, because that left-hand menu is actually dependent on what video you select. And if you don't select any video when you go to Studio Beta, it assumes you're trying to do things at the channel level. So I'll give you an example. If you go to Studio Beta and you just click on comments right away, you're going to see the comments for all of your videos on the channel, because we think you're at the channel level. If, on the other hand, you go to Studio Beta, you click on videos, and then you select a specific video, like, video about, video 12, and you click that, then on the left-hand side, if you click on comments, now you're just looking at the comments for that video. So that left-hand menu kind of changes depending on the videos you select. And that's why people are like, oh, I can't find the monetization settings for a specific video. It's all there. You just got to select the video first.
Nice. And another thing too that that it seems that people don't realize as well is when they go in and they are looking at things is the big blue circle. Once you click on the see more option, first it's the see more option itself. People tend to overlook that. But once they click on the see more, the big blue button with the or the big blue icon with the plus sign on it, just to let people know that are watching this
to expand
a little bit later.
And add more metrics and columns.
Yeah, you can add so much more information in there, and you can really start digging deep once you click on that. That's an awesome way to basically prioritize things. Or let me ask you that: do you prioritize that in terms of the things that are displayed there?
We try to show you by default what we think most creators want to look at, or it could be a combination of what they want to look at versus what we've in our data have seen them looking at, or sometimes it's like what we think they should be looking at. So as an example, a lot of people get really, really focused on looking at click-through rate, but then they don't really look at average view duration. So you really kind of need to look at both, because if you have a super high click-through rate for a video, but it has really poor duration, if it's really extreme, it could actually hurt your video, because it will appear like you're misleading viewers and giving them a really bad experience. And of course, we don't want to recommend that kind of video to a viewer.
AKA clickbait. Yeah.
Yes. In the most extreme form, sure. So there's an example where sometimes with the metrics, we try and encourage people to look at a full set. But yeah, that's generally how it's done.
Okay. Fantastic. Another question that I have, and this is another one from the community as well, this is from Dad of Two, and the question is, once the transition from classic to beta takes place, will it be accessible and responsive for mobile creators, or will mobile access still be limited for a while? So, one thing I know with my channel, I have a lot of mobile creators that watch my content. My brother has an entire channel that specifically serves mobile content creators. And one of the things that both of us get is, the limited access to a lot of this stuff, if you're doing it on a phone.
Yeah, so once we get everybody off of the legacy platform, there's a number of engineers that have to kind of babysit that thing. And they are going to free up. And what that'll allow us to do is a lot of them, we will have focus on just continued improvements to the new studio. But many of them also, we're going to start diverting resources to Creator Studio mobile app.
Nice.
And our view is that in the long run, what we really want is for you to have a native mobile app to do more of your journeys and more of your tasks. As you mentioned, the Studio mobile app is pretty good. A lot of people really love it. I use it multiple times a day.
Same here.
But I can't do everything.
Right.
I can't do everything. Like, there are some things that even, kind of frankly frustrate me a little. Like, I can't sort my comments by top. It's always just the most recent, or it doesn't have the newest filters that we have in Studio Beta. Or if you have an issue with a video, you can't handle, sometimes you can't address the issue. If it's a monetization issue, you can't appeal. If it's a copyright issue, you can't kind of like fix it. So we want to basically, if you think about it this way, like you've got the desktop Studio Beta, you can do pretty much everything. And then you've got the Creator Studio mobile app, which is like a subset of what you can do. And we just want to kind of close that gap as much as we can. It's going to take some time, but frankly, we are focused right now on getting people off of the legacy platforms, partly so that we can free up resources to make that mobile app even better. We have been making some improvements to the mobile app over time, but we'd like to increase the velocity of those improvements.
Sure. Yeah, the mobile content creators, I'm sure, are going to love once they get access to to all that additional information. And another question, this one's from the community, and this one's also from me as well. So this was a question that I had, but I saw that they also had this question. How did you end up becoming the face of Creator Insiders? Like when you guys decided to put that together, what encouraged you to do that? Because one, just as a content creator and somebody that is trying to stay up to date on the information on the platform and all of that, I think that it's an amazing service that you guys offer on the channel in terms of just letting content creators know kind of what's going on, things that you're working on, when you have issues or just problems. It's basically your way to communicate with the community. And I think it's amazing compared to the other offerings that YouTube has to get information out there. I think that the way that you guys do it is far superior in terms of my taste and how I like to consume things. I just think it's amazing. But yeah, how did you, one, decide to form that? And two, how did you become like the main face of it?
Yeah, well, I can't take credit for forming it. That was actually Susan's idea.
Okay.
Our CEO. And I think what she had been talking to creators, and they were saying like, oh, I don't read your blog posts, or the forums are kind of, why can't you just talk to us? Like, just use your own platform to talk to us. And coming from Google, we had previous experiences with this guy, Matt Cutts, who had done similar stuff around search. I
remember watching Matt's videos. Absolutely.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, right?
Yeah.
And so I remember when I was talking to her about joining the team, she said, oh, one of the things that you might be able to help us on is, kind of communicating more directly with creators about what's going on. And since my day job is product management for a lot of these core creator tools, I was excited because I was like, oh, great, then I can use the stuff that we're building and experience it for myself, which is part of the reason why I'm pretty confident that Studio Beta people will be fine, because I've been using it exclusively for like 18 months now, or almost 2 years.
Nice.
So it was her idea. And then since I work in core creator tools, there's a few of us. I was like, hey, I'll give it a shot. And when we started it, we didn't know how it was going to go. So we just made, 1 or 2 videos, uploaded, see what the views are. And my boss, who's the vice president of creator at YouTube, he was our editor for the first 100 videos. So yeah, it's been a great experience. And now it's become like regular. It was this experimental thing, but it's kind of like part of how we communicate now.
Yeah, well, I think you're doing a fantastic job. So thank you for all that you do on the Creators Insiders channel, and just for putting all this stuff together for us. Just from speaking on behalf of myself and the people that watch my videos as well, just thank you for being upfront with the information that you are sharing out there, and just for taking that extra effort, because it's important to all of us in terms of just being able to stay up to date with what's going on. Because for those of us that do depend on this as a thing that we pay our bills with, it's just an awesome thing to see that you guys are giving back to creators in that regard, in terms of, you know, just helping people stay informed with what's going on. So thank you for your efforts there. It's really appreciated.
Hey, it's our pleasure. And thanks to everybody who watches those insider videos and comments, because we read a lot of that stuff, and it's super helpful to us to get a pulse for what the creators are really passionate about and what they're concerned about. And we also appreciate the audience being understanding that our production values are pretty rough, because sure. You know, we shoot all the time, and we try and just focus on getting information out quickly and as matter-of-factly and plainly as we can.
Yeah, well, I think you guys are doing a great job, so thank you for that. And thanks, Tom, for coming on. Really appreciate you coming on to the channel and sharing this information. I'm sure that people are really going to appreciate the information that you shared today, and we are looking forward to seeing what it is that you do with Studio Beta.
Thank you, Nick. I do also want to thank you a second time for something else, which is when we started Creator Insider, I was actually watching some of your videos.
Nice.
To get some tips. So appreciate your help in helping us grow the Insider channel as well.
Oh, that's awesome. That just made my day. Thank you. I'm gonna put that all over Twitter and all over social media. Yeah, thank you for that.
Your thumbnail game is strong, man. I love your thumbnails.
Thanks, I appreciate it. All right, thanks again, Tom.
Take it easy, Nick.
If you want to stay up to date with any of the changes that are happening on YouTube, make sure that you check out the Creator Insiders channel right here. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.